and cavalry charge, cavalry charge, cavalry charge, and cavalry charge. Oh dear. So the first poor wild man of Dunland up against 2 riders of Rohan. So that's 4 dice because they get 1 extra each for being on the charge. And yep, goes to Rohan. And because they've won, he's knocked down, so each attack is doubled. So the first rider kills him, needing 4s, and the second rider kills him, needing 4s, so he's well and truly snuffed it. Second poor wild man of Dunland, don't fancy his chances. And that goes to Rohan. First rider, doubled, dead, 4s. Second rider, doubled, dead. 3 times. Snuffed it. Damn these horses. The wild men don't stand a chance. Unless... That'll do it. Hello and welcome back to the lead pile. Yes, in this video we're making spike traps. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some cheap decorator's caulk and we're going to spread this out on some thin corrugated cardboard bases, and we're just going to spread it out to try and give that raised surface to kind of give the effect that we've got a pit. All I'm going to then do is use my finger and gently shape a rough surface. When that's finished, set it to dry. So next what we're going to do is we're just going to take a few cocktail sticks and you're going to measure out roughly the length that you would like these to be protruding. I don't recommend you go super long because you don't want to spike yourself with them, and if they're shorter they're less likely to break off and be easier to store. So measure out how long you want and then just take some clippers and clip off the spikes. Now once you have these, just take some cheap super glue. This is just basic stuff from the supermarket I'm using here. I'm just going to dab the ends of those spikes and press them into the cardboard. The caulk can be anywhere from several hours to overnight. I just left them overnight. What we're then going to do is we're going to apply some PVA glue all the way around the edge and the centre of our model. What I've then got is I've got a mixed pot here of builder's sand, some kind of grains and gravelly dirt. This is mainly from aquarium sets, so you can get it cheap in bulk from pet stores, or just dirt from outside. But if you're using outside dirt, be sure to sterilize it first in the oven. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to tip off the excess of my basing material and be sure to put something underneath, a wee mat or some cardboard, so that you can save that excess and use it again. So to base coat it, you can either paint it on with a brush or you can spray it. I chose to spray this with a black primer. This was just a cheap black spray paint I think you got from Poundland, so you don't need to waste your good, expensive Games Workshop or Army Painter miniature sprays. Just use some cheap crafts paint. Once you've applied the base coat, you're going to take a rough brush and you're just going to dab on a load of brown. Now pick whichever shade of brown you want. I've gone for a kind of warm ochre here, and spread this out, just quite a thick overpaint. You don't need to get into every nook and cranny, but just enough to give that brown coverage. Then I'm going to take a dry brush. This is just a cheap makeup brush, and it's got a nice soft touch to it, and that means that we're just going to dab a little bit of a highlight colour. So I've gone for like a tan colour here, and we're just going to rub off the excess and then just gently touch the surface of the model, picking out those extreme highlights there. Then I'm just taking a paint. This is just a slightly different shade of brown. I've gone for a Citadel paint here because I had it on hand, and I'm just going to pick out the colours of those wooden stakes. Colour here, and I'm just going to now pick out the tops of those stakes. Now this will give a nice contrast in the colour between the top and the bottom. It'll also help make sure that you can see them so you don't stab yourself with them. Now once that's dried, I'm going to return to our PVA glue, and this time I'm just blotching on some of the model PVA, and I'm then going to apply flock. You don't want to cover the entire model. You want to make sure you don't get any PVA glue on your wooden stakes, but also you want to leave some of it to replicate the fact that it is going to have a lot of rough earth around because they've just dug these pits. Also, you've gone to all the effort of making that nice earth texture and painting it up, so you don't want to cover the whole thing. Now this flock here, I've got two shades. I've got a light green, and then I've got kind of a dead grass effect, yellowy brown colour. Now I've made this in bulk simply from using wood chip cat litter. What I did is I mushed it all up, I suppose, let it all disintegrate with water, and then put it in the oven to dry and sterilise it. And then when it was out of the oven, I just put it in an old coffee grinder, not one I was still using, and applied different shades of paint, and that mixes it really well. Then once that dries, you've got a massive amount of flock. So, as you can see, that's now all dried, and I've tipped off the excess. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of that PVA glue, and I'm just going to apply some tufts. Again, this is entirely optional. If you don't have tufts or you don't want to use tufts, don't need to. Now these tufts are supposed to be self-adhesive. They have a slight gluey texture to the back of them. However, because this is quite a rough terrain surface, I want to make sure it definitely sticks, and I'm applying some PVA. You can use super glue as well. Anything will really help make that bond. So I'm just going to take out some of my tufts. These are some green ones I got off the internet. You can shop around, you can find some pretty cheap. Of course there are also some fancy expensive ones, but this is just for scenery, so I don't mind. You could go over the top of this, but it's best just to apply a few. And there we have it. With the tufts applied, we now have our finished terrain. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I think it just goes to show that with very few tools and maybe one or two good ideas, you can make pretty much anything for your tabletop gaming.